And we will call the meeting to order. Good morning, and we'll call our first meeting of February 2025 to order. I'll start with the roll call. From Asphodel Norwood, we have Mayor Wilford and Deputy Mayor Burritt.
Good morning.
And from Douro Dummer, we have Mayor Watson
Good morning.
and Deputy Mayor Nelson. I think he's online. Good morning. And from Havelock Belmont Methuen, we have Mayor Martin.
Present.
And Deputy Mayor Webb online.
Here.
And from North Kawartha, we have Mayor Amiot.
Present.
And Deputy Mayor Whalen.
I'm here.
And from Otonabee South Monaghan, Mayor Taylor.
Here also.
And myself, Deputy Mayor Clark. And from Selwyn, we have the Deputy Warden and Mayor Senes. Present. And the Deputy Mayor Ron Black.
Present.
And from Trent Lakes, we have Mayor Lambshead.
I am present.
Very good. And Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Last but not least.
Welcome. We'll start by playing our land acknowledgement.
With deep respect, we acknowledge the lands and interconnected waterways that bind us together, the foundation for all life. These lands serve as a keeper of history and stories and are a source of inspiration. In recognizing this, we embrace that all living things possess an important energy and purpose. We extend the utmost gratitude to the original peoples who have been caretakers of these lands and waters of this region from time immemorial, and to this day who continue this commitment. Peterborough County's dedication to reconciliation remains steadfast. In this spirit, we are committed to nurturing meaningful partnerships and connections that contribute to an environment of prosperity and well-being for all generations to come. This acknowledgement is made on the Treaty 20 land and the territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe, and within the traditional lands of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. Further, our gratitude is extended to the nations of Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island.
Thank you. We'll now take a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Could I have a motion to adopt our agenda, please? And moved by Councillor Black and second by Councillor Lambshead. Does any council member have a pecuniary interest? Please so declare it. I see none in the chamber and none online. We have our minutes in our package from January 26th. Could I please have a motion for that? And moved by Councillor Martin and second by Councillor Amiot. All in favor? Thank you. And moving right on to presentations. Jason Armstrong, representing the Municipal Group Manager for Engage Engineering. Jason, if you'll come to the podium there, and regarding our Ward Street environmental assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Here this morning to talk to you about the Ward Street Municipal Class Environmental Assessment in Bridgenorth. So the purpose of today's presentation is to provide background and a status update of the Class EA project, present the recommended plan, and outline next steps to complete the project. Study area for anyone that's not aware is in Bridgenorth on Ward Street, and it extends from the Causeway down to Champlain Road, right by Tim Hortons. Study objectives. The county and the township through the Technical Advisory Committee, and just so everybody knows, the Technical Advisory Committee was comprised of members of county staff, township staff, and Engage engineering staff. The objectives were to provide enhanced traffic capacity to improve levels of service in the short to medium term horizons, optimize traffic circulation and access to side streets and commercial properties to improve levels of service, provide improved active transportation facilities for both pedestrians and cyclists on both sides of Ward Street for the length of the corridor, implement items outlined in the Selwyn Community Improvement Plan for streetscaping in built form. The environmental assessment process has been followed for the Ward Street project. The Ward Street project has been considered a Schedule C project. Right now, we are in phase 4 of the EA process, which is presenting to council and finalizing the environmental study report. Study timeline. Ward Street's EA was initiated in 2022. It's proceeded through the municipal class EA process phase 1 through to now 4. To date, the following work has been completed. We've completed a detailed traffic analysis, development of alternatives, evaluation of those alternatives and solutions. We've hosted 2 public information centers. We've had meetings with Bridgenorth business owners, refined preferred alternative, selected a recommended plan, and prepared preliminary design plans. Traffic volumes on Ward Street, have decreased since the last update to the Ward Street environmental study back in 2017. 2023 data shows additional capacity available for the Ward Street corridor. This drop in traffic volume is consistent with new traffic patterns post-COVID. For example, with the change in remote and hybrid style work schedules, the patterns have been noticed and are consistent with other areas as well. So there's 2 graphs on this slide. We've got daily total traffic volume, which is the bar graph that shows how this traffic has been trending downwards. The highest bar there is 2017, and then you can see that COVID period. And the line graph shows hourly distribution. You can see the red line shows more of those AM and PM peaks, whereas the green line, which is 2023, shows more of a consistent trend through the day. So throughout the project, we looked at different alternatives and evaluations. We came up with 8 unique alternatives were developed to address the project objectives. Alternatives from a roundabout at the Causeway to signals at Tim Hortons were investigated. Those that best addressed the project objectives were shortlisted for a detailed evaluation. Those were Alternative 1 and Alternative 6. Alternative 1 was a road rehabilitation with localized improvements. And Alternative 6 was to optimize signal timing at Ward and the Causeway and extend a center turn lane from Gore Street up to Champlain Road. So these shortlisted alternatives were evaluated against a comprehensive list of evaluation criteria from natural environment, social, cultural, economic, and technical. The recommended plan through the evaluation process was alternative one, which is road rehabilitation with localized improvements. This was identified as a preferred alternative. It was further refined after public consultation and is presented as the recommended plan. The recommended plan maintains the existing lane configuration, but incorporates new sidewalk, multi-use pathway, and streetscaping improvements. It also minimizes utility relocation, impacts to private property, and property acquisition. Recommended plan incorporates some geometric corridor improvements to improve vehicular and pedestrian safety. And it satisfies project objectives by maintaining capacity, improving traffic flow on Ward Street, improving pedestrian and active transportation facilities, and maximizing available space for streetscape and community improvements. The recommended plan, alternative one, road rehabilitation, localized improvements, was presented at the second Public Information Center that was hosted in the Village of Bridgenorth. Public comments were consistent with and reinforced project objectives and concluded that improved pedestrian facilities are an important consideration to many stakeholders and that they be carried forward in the preliminary design. That consideration be given to pedestrian infrastructure when crossing Ward Street, and that further consideration for the crossing infrastructure at the causeway be reviewed. That the recommended solution is generally in line with the community's suggestions and should address their concerns. And lastly, leading up to construction, that local businesses and residents be further consulted to communicate the impact of construction on the community. So here we have the two cross sections that will make up Ward Street. There's the 3-lane cross section, which right now is from the causeway to Gore Street. It includes 3 lanes, a southbound, northbound, and a center turning lane. We've also got space for community improvement. There'll be new asphalt curb, storm sewer, as well as new 1.8 meter concrete sidewalk and new 3-meter asphalt multi-use trail. Similarly, from Champlain Road to Gore Street, there will be 2 lanes, so no center turning lane through that section. The 1.8 meter concrete sidewalk will continue, as well as the 3-meter multi-use path. So just to reiterate, the new recommended plan incorporates continuous 3-meter wide multi-use pathway on the west side, continuous 1.8 meter concrete sidewalk on the east side, allows space for community improvement initiatives and tree planting, allows for stormwater quality control infrastructure to be installed where possible to improve water quality outletting to Chemung Lake. The 3-lane to 2-lane transition at the intersection of Ward and Gore will be improved for safer navigation through that intersection. It also includes commercial entrance improvements to reduce conflicting turning movements on Ward Street between Gore and Bridge Street, which is the commercial zone in Bridgenorth. Improve pedestrian amenities at the Ward Street and Bridge Street or Causeway intersection through the addition of crossing infrastructure and realignment of lanes through Ward Street and Bridge Street intersection through modifications to traffic islands and line painting. So next steps in the study are to file the ESR report. Following that ESR filing, there will be a 30-day review period. Following that, implementation of the project subject to funding. And then we have a potential implementation schedule would be detailed design of the roadway in 2025, potential utility relocation in 2026, which would see construction potentially starting in 2027. So any questions?
Thank you for that, Jason, and I'll open the floor now for questions. Yes, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Thank you, Jason, for the presentation. Two things I want to ask about. First of all, I was very surprised to learn it was traffic volume and impediment to traffic flow that really caused us to embark upon this project. So I was very surprised to learn that traffic volume has decreased significantly in the last 7 or 8 years. And some of that, I'm sure, can be attributed, as you said, to remote working, but I wouldn't think all of it. So has there been any information about where is that traffic now going to get around the village of Richmond?
We did investigate, actually, we added some extra traffic volume collection in the study. We did the initial findings, and as well, we're surprised that the drop in traffic was that significant from 2017. And, you know, we looked at other data throughout the county and it concluded that, you know, not only is the traffic has dropped, but the way people are traveling has changed. As if we look back at that line graph, we're not getting those AM and PM peaks through the corridor, which those were really the pinch points for traffic flow through the Ward Street corridor. So those have seemed to be, they've just smoothed out throughout the day more than it was previously.
So the concern, you know, that we have is whether this trend will eventually be reversed to reflect what they were back in 2017 or even heavier, or we're going to continue with this pattern. We really don't know the answer to that. So I guess you just forge ahead based upon the information you have at the time. But I would be surprised if traffic flows don't increase over the next decade or two.
Right.
Maybe 2017 levels are higher. The second question I have, Warden Clark, if I can, is could we go to slide 11, please, on the presentation? In the proposed drawings here, you have really the project's broken into two sections. And from Bridge Street down to Gore Street, there's 3 lanes, a center turning lane, and then from Gore Street to Champlain, there's 2 lanes. In the drawing here, it looks like both projects are about the same overall total width. How are we gaining the extra width for the turning lane in that one section?
So we're not changing the road width at all. So there is 3 lanes right now between Gore Street and Bridge Street.
There is currently 3 lanes.
There is currently 3 lanes. Okay. So the curve for the road will be staying generally in the same location throughout the corridor. The additional infrastructure will be the sidewalk and the multi-use path being added
in both sections. Okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Black.
Thank you, through your Warren. Thanks for the presentation, Jason. And of course, it's been presented to Selwyn Council already, and Council's in full support. Just to follow up on Councillor Taylor's question around traffic, and there was questions that obviously at our meeting around the traffic, and you know, certainly hybrid work has made a difference in how people, the number of vehicles on the road, but I also think the construction at the causeway changed patterns for people coming and going from Innismore. In the traffic study, did you look at the actual traffic that turned and crossed the causeway? How much did that change through the last 2 years of our amazing construction on the Gifford Causeway? Did you look at the changes there? And that may come back now that it's open fully. So,
yeah, I know we did try and stagger our counting programs around that construction. We did start this project in 2022. So, you know, we collected data in 2023 as well. So a lot of that data was collected, you know, around the impact of all that causeway construction. So, you know, a lot of that traffic that we saw is just a fluctuation in when they're traveling throughout the day and how much. And you know, the study horizon was short to medium term. So, you know, that was partly because of, you know, quite a change in traffic volumes since the 2017 study.
Yeah.
So, over the next 5 to 10 years, the county will do some more traffic counting. But really that corridor is in a state where it needs to be rehabilitated in the next couple of years. So.
Yeah, no follow-up, just, absolutely agree that the work has to be done, and then things have been put off for a number of years now with the former bypass in the transportation plan and so on. So it's in desperate need of upgrading, and I certainly support the plan. I just concerned that traffic patterns change because of the construction and people not knowing how long the wait would be to get across the causeway. And I'm a little worried, a little concerned that those patterns will come back now that we have our beautiful causeway open. Thank you.
Good point. Any further questions? If not, then a motion to receive the report moved by Deputy Warden and second by Councillor Whalen. And we will ask, thank you, Doug. I almost think it's the Doug Sakosha show here today to the podium. And of course, Doug is our General Manager of Engineering and Construction. So if you will speak to the project. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Warden. Good morning, Council. The report in front of you obviously is in relation to the Ward Street EA. And I don't plan on going through the entire document. I know with the appendices, it's over 1,300 pages. And Jason's obviously just summarized that for you as well. So
Thank you. Thank you.
but I do want to take a moment just to start first to say thanks to Engage Engineering and their team. As it's noted in the report, this project's been going on since 2016. So a lot of hard work's been going into this to get it here today as well. I also want to say thank you to our partner being Selwyn Township. Their staff actually spent a lot of time and dedicated hours as well on this project through public consultation, reviewing reports. And so again, just want to acknowledge that a lot of hard work went in from both those parties. One thing I do want to address is just maybe a comment I heard around the traffic and some questioning around that. And specifically, really key to this is it's not necessarily that the volumes have decreased. It's more the time of day that we're seeing the change in traffic pattern. And for myself and our staff, we actually study it more globally. So across Peterborough County, this is a trend across Peterborough County. This isn't unique to Bridgenorth. We're seeing the volumes relatively the same, but what's happening is that morning AM peak and that PM peak is what's actually been flattened. And that's what Jason's referring to. So people might be going to work a little earlier. They might be going a little later. And so when you avoid that AM or PM peak, that's really what we're designing around. And so when we don't have to worry about that as much and that's been dropped, that's really what's alleviating the need for a capacity issue on this roadway. So it's not necessarily the volume of traffic, it's the time of day we're seeing that. And just wanted to highlight that's more of a global pattern that we're studying across Peterborough County. So I guess with all that being said, the recommendation obviously is in front of council today to endorse alternative 1. And further than that would be to file the environmental study report for the 30-day period. And that would give the direction to staff to proceed with the detailed design.
Thank you, Doug, for that. And as we know, Selwyn has already passed this. It's a super project, just coupling with the causeway, and I think it will serve the purpose very well. So I look for a motion to accept the endorsement of alternative 1. So looking on the screen here, and moved by Councillor Nelson and second by Councillor Burt. All in favor? Thank you. And consent items. Have we received any? So nothing. So just a motion then to pull those. I'm trying to get everybody on. Councillor Webb and Councillor Watson. All in favor? Thank you. And our staff report, and we'll ask Brent, our Chief of PCCP Community Programming, to come and just go over an emergency management. So that addresses that. And we were lucky to receive grant monies for this new asset for the county. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Warden. Good morning, Council. Thank you for having me. Yeah, happy to report that through the Treasury Board Secretariat and Emergency Management Ontario that we have received the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant. So this was part of the Government of Ontario in 2023 had released $110 million to over 3 years to strengthen emergency preparedness in Ontario. And this is actually round 2 of 3, where it was given out to all the municipalities to apply. And our application was filled out in the fall. Anyways, we applied for a mobile emergency management, emergency operations center / emergency clinic that could be set up. The grant is effective March the 3rd. It needs to be completed by August the 29th, and final reporting deadline of September 12th. So we applied for the grant for a deployable tent, similar to a party tent, a 20 by 20 type of tent that you would put in an emergency trailer, flooring, all the associated tables, chairs, a generator, and we're going to equip it with a Starlink mobile to a vehicle to be determined. So basically that we could go out to any one of the townships, into one of the First Nations, anywhere in the county, or possibly even if we were requested outside of the county. I've been told that these tents, 2 people can set them up inside of an hour. By the time you put, the equipment in, you get the satellite internet going. Depending on what type of emergency we're dealing with, it's sort of a multi-use type of thing. It's been based off of a Red Cross model. In my previous role that I was familiar with, there was more of a sea container model, but in consultation with county staff, the specialized equipment for moving a sea container and being able to drop and deploy something like this wasn't ideal. So we decided to go with just a typical enclosed trailer, which is going to house the tent and all the associated equipment. We need to determine how we're going to make this deployable out to the communities, but we're hoping to have this in place by the summer, and it can be deployed out to any one of the townships anywhere in the county and potentially beyond.
All right, thank you very much, and good news. And as Brent has said, this will be something that all the municipalities will be able to use if we find ourselves in such a situation. So, all right, could we just have a mover and seconder for trying to get everybody on screen? Moved by Councillor Huntley and second by Councillor Graham. All in favor? Thank you. And notice of motion. This is regarding our tariffs that have been pulled back for a short period of time. No one knows what's in the future, and I'm going to turn it over. This is a motion that Councillor or Deputy Warden Senes and I worked on. So Deputy Warden, please.
Thank you very much. Through you. Many number of things have transpired since I filed the notice of motion that was originally in our package. And Bonnie and I felt the motion should be changed to reflect the decisions that have already been made by others, knowing the situation will continue to evolve. One thing that is painfully apparent is that we as a country have focused most of our trade with the United States at our peril. We must diversify our economy and start building it domestically. And to do that, trade barriers that currently exist between the provinces need to be removed by both the federal and provincial governments and territories across the nation. Impediments must be removed so that municipalities can buy Canadian. This will also require our looking at our purchasing policy to remove any barriers that we have at this end. It also makes sense to utilize our Economic Development and Tourism Division to establish a campaign to buy local, Peterborough County, buy Canadian, to encourage and remind everyone to purchase locally made Canadian products. As a municipality, we are in a position of sending this strong message to our provincial and federal governments to start the process of breaking down the provincial trade barriers today. They've been talking about this for decades. Enough of the talk. Let's see some action. I hope my colleagues will support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And just, motion's been seconded, so just opening it up for discussion on the motion. So any questions? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Warden Clark, and thank you, Deputy Warden Sanders, for bringing this forward. You're right. The conversation about easing trade restrictions between provinces have been ongoing now in earnest for the last month or two, ever since Trump announced the potential of tariffs. And in fact, the leader of the opposition is using that in his key campaign slogan about it's easier to trade with other countries than it is between the provinces. So that has to be fixed. And I remain optimistic that it will be. I'd like to ask Sheridan, I think, we certainly are being encouraged to buy local, promote local, and we should. And this goes back to, remember, Kawartha Choice Initiative started back in about the year 2000 when people were encouraged to do the same thing. And it's even more so important now. I'd like to ask Sheridan, I think, to explain to council the restrictions that exist around the decisions that we make with the whole procurement process. It's a lot more complicated than I ever imagined.
It's very complicated, and having a seat on the AMO board, and this was discussed extensively, and the legalities, because we certainly have those restrictions with certainly USA. I'll certainly let Sheridan answer, but also we have European procurements as well. So it's very complicated, very certainly legal, and Sheridan has reached out regarding legality around our motion as well, to make sure that we don't get ourselves off on the wrong track. So Sheridan, please go ahead.
Thank you, and through you. So there are a lot of trade agreements that impact municipal procurement policies. There's CUSMA, which is the Canadian-US-Mexico agreement, which replaced NAFTA. There's the CFTA, there's CETA, and there's most recently one called BOBI, which is Buy Ontario Business Initiative. That is a provincial legislation. And so when we look at proposed amendments to purchasing policies, we need to look to the federal and provincial governments to amend those so that we can stay compliant with our own policies. So as an example, moving forward with a strictly Buy Ontario or Buy Canada procurement policy by the county would put us in contradiction of other trade agreements with Europe and other countries. So we need to make sure that we stay on side with those agreements at the present time. And therefore, if we're looking at potential amendments, it would be in penalization of US providers as opposed to focusing on strictly Canada or Ontario within our agreements. And we're not the only ones looking at this. The city of Welland has passed a recent amendment to their purchasing policy and is working through legal to bring that back to council. And so that's why in the motion, I appreciate the time to bring back a detailed report that can give you all of that to make sure that we're still on side when we look to any types of amendments within our purchasing policy. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, good question. Any further questions? If not, I'll call the motion for support. So all in favor? Thank you. That is passed. So under announcements. And does anyone have announcements? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, so this weekend, Havelock Hall on Methuen is holding their Fire and Ice. I think it's the 6th annual Fire and Ice Festival at our community center. So everybody's welcome to come out if you're looking for something to do. It's usually a fun day. So
And a very family oriented event. So thank you. Any other announcements? Looking at Councillor Bird, maybe to speak to the dinner Saturday.
Sure. Through you, Warden, I mentioned that at the last meeting as well. So yes, Saturday evening at Lang at the Heritage Building is the celebration of agriculture, and we'll be celebrating the Farm Family of the Year, another award going out to a longstanding agricultural volunteer and active person in the community, and then the Cattleman's Award as well. So there'll be 3 awards given, and I believe our warden will be there to speak, and just getting everything wrapped up with tickets and final numbers for the caterer this week. So looking forward to another good evening.
Thank you, Councillor Burt. And just under announcements and again regarding tariffs, we are meeting locally with the chamber. I'm sorry, Councillor Black.
Sorry, and through Councillor Burt, what's the deadline for tickets? It's on my list of things for Saturday, but what's the latest we can get the
Probably
ticket?
today would be lovely. Within the next day or 2, if you could let somebody know that you want tickets, that would be great. And I do have tickets, so I could always just let them know that you're coming and have tickets there for you. So, or you can reach out to, if you know somebody that's on one of the boards, you can let them know as well. So yeah,
Great.
Please, if you could let them know in the next day or 2, that'd be great.
So
Thank you for that.
I think there's an in here with Councillor Burt if she's still holding tickets for us. Thank you. So just on the tariffs, we're meeting with the local Chamber of Commerce on the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus side. We've reached out to the Great Lakes City Initiatives. That's co-chaired by an American mayor and by the St. Catharines mayor. And I met with Matt Cisco up at Roma. So we're having further conversations, and also around the New York State Association of Counties. I've been asked to speak at FCM as well, a board meeting on that. So there is lots of going on with all our partners and lobbying. So I just want to say, and I've got my Canadian pin on today, shop local. But I think, you know, being an egg farmer, we've put our eggs into one basket. So it's a time to diversify here, and maybe there's some opportunities that we can. So shop Canadian and shop local. Thank you. And bylaws, I'll now ask the clerk to read, please.
Okay, there are 2 bylaws on today's agenda. The first one is the reduced loads on county roads. It was under item 8B. And the second is to enter into an agreement with the president of the Treasury Board for Brent's report earlier on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. And mover for that, moved by Councillor Welford, second by Councillor Armstrong. All in favor? Thank you. And our confirming bylaw, mover for that. Let's see, Councillor Taylor there with his hand. Councillor Taylor and seconder Councillor Lambshead. All in favor? Thank you. And adjournment. And Councillor Nelson and Councillor, everybody wants to stay in the chamber. Councillor Watson, all in favor?